Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome once again to the Dunholme Camera Club evening's entertainment. Just getting myself comfy, just see who's in the house, as you might say. Well, a bit of a change at the front of the auditorium this week. We've got Gail and Tony down there at the front. Nice early starters. I must admit they were early as well, because I was here fairly early and they was already there. So good evening to Gail and Tony. Shortly followed by Sue. Good evening, Sue. I hope you enjoyed your time away. Who else is? Richard was around next, so Richard's looking forward to this one. I don't know what pictures of the committee members get you excited, but never mind, takes all sorts. Who else have we got? Jill. Good evening, Jill. You're way down the league today, so you must have had other jobs to do this evening, so but welcome to Jill. And who else? Just reading one or two of the comments as we go. The committee, yeah. We've seen some. Good evening, Tony. Oh, we've said hello to Tony once. Sue, Tony, Sue. So I joined there at that point. Good evening, Jim. Welcome to you. Peter, Caroline. Good evening, Caroline Oldham. Welcome to yourself. I'll actually manage to sit down before it starts. Well done, Caroline. Who else have we got? Neil. Good evening, Neil. Neil must be back from his sunnier climes. It looked a very nice place, Neil, so really pleased it and hope that you've had a good time. Who else have we got? We've got Caroline and Dave. Good evening to you, lady and gentlemen. Welcome to you, Alan, as well. Good evening, Alan. Not yet, Jim. Come back. All right. Neil's not quiet there yet, so he's just having a final slurp at night to finish his holiday off. Good evening, Doreen, and if you're listening, Jan. Good evening, Jan. Good evening, Jill, Pardo, and Vera. Good evening to you both. Who else have we got? We've got a good full house tonight. They're all excited to see the committee images. So I've said good evening to Jill Pardo. Who else? Chris Peen. Good evening, Chris. Welcome to yourself. Michael Hughes. Good evening, Michael. I hope you're well, sir. Managing to get used to the cold now. Certainly a bit of a change in a couple of days, isn't it? Last week we was basking them couple of days in the sun, and now the reality hits. So I think I've said hello to Alan. Who else? Good evening, Bob. Good evening, Bob. Good one evening all. I just yeah. Good evening, Grahame H. Blooming out, you're way down the list. Way down the list. So, and Doreen. Yeah. So, everybody's good and welcome. We're up to just coming up to 20 now. We've had lots of comments. It's good to see you all talking between yourselves and just greeting each other, etc. I must admit that it's great that so many of you come and follow us on a Thursday night and of course those others that watch that don't sign in. You know, there is one or two people that we know, they watch what we're doing, and they take it all in, but don't sign in and don't drop a note in the chat. So one or two more just dropped in there. Good evening, Elaine. Really good to see you. Well, to see you. I can't see you, but to know that you're there. So hope that you're well. And Paul. Good evening, Paul. Ray's managed to get here. So was talking to Ray earlier, and he was saying he was going to try and make it, and sure enough, he has done. So yeah, so that's all of the people from the members side at the moment. I'll drop back and have a look at the comments in a second, just to see if anybody else has joined us. Looking like we're up to a good gaggle of people. What do you call a crowd, innit? A crowd of people. So really good to see everybody. Right, a couple of notices, because I do want to get on at 7 to make a start, because we've got some great images for you. I say, I must admit, I say great images. I haven't actually looked at them. I've looked at one or two at the beginning of each of the members, the committee members' images, just to make sure everything's okay, but I've not looked through them all. But I'm sure that it's going to be a delight for you this evening to see some images from the committee members. I'll explain that in a minute. Right, 3 notices. Bob, our chairman, his competition or his challenge this year is bridges, and please make a note of this so that we don't get the late entries. Bob's competition, as I've just said, is bridges. Any sort of bridges, small or large, whatever. It closes on Thursday the 15th, so you've got a fortnight to go. So a fortnight to get your entries in to into your folder, and there is a folder for that particular competition in your Dropbox. So make sure that you choose the one that says Bridges Chairman's Challenge and get your entries in by the 15th. So that's just 2 weeks to go. The other one, or another one of the notices, is the LPA hold various competitions each year. We've not had them this year, and to be quite honest, we're not too sure what's happening next year yet. The LPA basically was suspended at the time of the outbreak, so we're not too sure yet exactly what's happening. So what we would like to ask of you, though, is one of the first competitions is the Foster's Challenge, which it's always like a battles between all of the LPA clubs, the LPA clubs being the member clubs of Lincolnshire in the Lincolnshire Photographic Association organisation. So could you put your entries, and this is anything, it doesn't matter what it is, all of your best entries, get them into the folder in Dropbox, which is in the external folder named as Foster Battles / LP External Competitions. So these entries go towards not only the one competition, the Foster's Challenge, but it goes to all of the competitions during the year. Plus we select from all of your entries for the competitions during the year and add that to all of your entries that you're going to drop into the external folder Dropbox Foster's Battle folder. So make sure it's all open, there's no theme or anything like that, all of your best images. And I'll tell you what, we've seen some cracking images this year. I think Jill, myself and Viv, we usually choose the entries for the competitions, and all three of us would say that you've dropped in this year some amazing images, so keep them coming. So let's see them in that folder. And then the final one is next Tuesday. We're having a day out at Frampton Marshes near Boston. As usual, please make sure that you bring your masks, etc. We do at this stage believe the hides are open and there is a toilet. Frampton Marshes is a little bit isolated, so they do keep the toilets open as best they can, and they are open. There's no food apparently, but you can get a coffee, so I'd suggest probably you bring your own coffee and a sandwich for a bite at lunch. Depending upon numbers, we will only be going round in 2s and 3s anyway, so that we just keep apart. We will be close together, but as you can appreciate, not too close. So we shall abide by the relevant rules. So that's all of the notices. So I'm just going to have a read through these last one or two, see if anybody else has appeared. Grahame, Ray. Good evening, Steve. Steve Howell's joined us. No sound. I think that must be at your end. Nobody's let me know that they can't hear me. Now, I've been waffling for 10 minutes. So it must be at your end, Steve. So if somebody could just type into Steve to say that there is sound and it must be at his end, that would be great. Or somebody else. Jill has done. So that's okay, Richard, Stephen. Sound appeared. Thanks. Great. So we're all on the go. Right, I'm going to get rid of this image here. I'm going to open up the first image there. So let me just explain a little bit. When I started the camera club many years ago, and I'm going to take my picture off in a minute, but I'm leaving it on for the moment. All about tea, coffee. Oh, tea, coffee and cakes, biscuits and toilets too. Good. All sounds good. If anybody hasn't let me know yet, could you please let me know in the chat if you haven't let me know that you will be there. For instance, Neil, I know that it's your Tuesdays are off for you, I think, still, so let me know if you're going to be available. Anyway, back to the committee. When I started the camera club, I did everything. Was much easier then because, of course, we started the camera club with 10 and we progressed up to 15 in the first year. It then progressed so that we needed a committee, and we used to run with a committee of 4. Over the period of time, we've got more members, we need more things doing, and thankfully, and I say a big thank you to all the members of the committee for standing up and joining to help run the club. And so thank you very much, committee, for that. But now we're running a team of 8 people. I'll explain who the people are as we go through, and I'm looking over to that screen because I'm looking at the notes, etc. So that's how it is. There's 8 people. We haven't had many meetings. We've had a couple of little meetings via video this year, but that's all. So I'm going to get rid of myself. Let me just cut that off. You don't want to see me. And then I'll go back to my notes and say to you, or I'll just have a very good look back at the things. Good evening, Viv. Viv's the only other one that's just popped in, so good evening to Vivian. Right, the first lot of images are, I'm going to leave this title up in the top corner for everybody. I appreciate you get the rest of it, but it'll let you see the title as well as we go through. I'm going to be reading the notes from the other screen. So the first ones are from Avril, and there's no reason that I've gone for anybody first or last. only that they're in alphabetical order. They just sorted themselves out. So Avril's the first. Avril is our program secretary, and with the help of the ladies, and I say the ladies, that being Crispine and Jill, they put together the program and then they present it to the committee. Next year's program is already, well, nearly sorted, but of course we just don't know what's happening yet. So right, Avril says the photographs taken were taken on a variety of cameras. I swapped from a manual film camera to manual film camera, the Olympus OM1 SLR, to a Nikon DSLR. I still hankered after an Olympus, so I bought the EM10 Mark II, which I still love as it is compact enough for me to take anywhere. I have since bought the EM1 Mark II because I wanted a weatherproof camera, the in-camera focus stacking and the 40-150 lens with a 1.4 converter. So that gives you a bit of an idea of what Avril's taking pictures with. Sorry, Doreen. What better way to put myself off totally there. What better way to brighten up a walk to work than by taking some photographs on the way? This first picture is Strelitzia. Strelitzia, the modern house on Michaelgate, named after the flower of the same name. It is just below the cathedral, taken about 8 a.m. in the morning, December, ISO 500, 140 of a second, f7 on the Olympus. Let me just see, move that one. This second one is called Walking into the Mist. Taken at the top of Greystone Hill, one from a project taking photographs in the mist and rain. Greystone Lane follows the line of the Roman path which linked Eastgate to a postern gate in the Roman town wall. Once again taken with the Olympus. Now, the extra added information that you get from Doreen is because she does knowledgeable walks around Lincoln. We'll get her to do us one at some point in the future. So thank you, Doreen. I'm pleased you admitted that you'd help us on that one. So the next image is the Bale. For the views, I often drove into Lincoln along the Cliff Edge Road. That road predates Ermine Street, which is the A15, and continued in use. Currently, the archaeologists are excavating a Saxon cemetery built alongside it. Really like that one. I like the bit of colour in the banding around the bale. Looks really nice. So, yep, very stormy one as well, isn't it? The next one, I forgot to tell you all, by the way, what we've done is we've entered 20 images each. I've put a few extra in just to fill in if we need to fill in at the end. So, but if we don't, then we won't get there. This one's called Cathedral. Right, before I tell you this, work is done for the day. There are more opportunities for photographs on the way to the bus stop. So these are taken on the way to the bus stop. The cathedral from the south. Very nice image. I do, over the last few years personally, I do like the black and white images and they really stand out. So well done. Fruit and book. I like the colour of the fruit and the book against the sombre tones of the surroundings. This was taken with Doreen's old EM10. straight lines and a circle. A table in the cloisters. This interested me because the opposite straight lines and the circle, wood and metal, warm orange and the cool blues. That was taken with the EM1, so with the newer camera that she's got. Oops, that didn't work. Let me just try that again. I'll have to do that. Old Cottages Gatehouse. It's funny, isn't it, how I've lived in Lincoln since 1964, and there's some places you see that you think, can't remember ever having gone up that road. I'm sure I must have done, but in my youth. So Old Cottages, taken in James Street. It was originally called Vinegar Lane, but Captain James Bronhead's daughter felt that name was beneath them. The building on the left dates from the 12th century. In the distance on the left is the gatehouse entrance to Atherstone Place. Like that. I like the style as well. Right, when not at work, it's time to take a walk in the local fields. Yellowhammer on a snowy day. This was taken with the EM10. So basically they're looking like they're always taken with the Olympus. So once again, nice, just with that outline on the picture as well. Just picking the colours from the bird. 9 is Kestrel. 75 to 300 lens on the EM10. Once again, very nice image. Nice and clear. So this next one, very letterbox one here, eh? So Frosty Morning. Now this one, in the Olympus cameras, you can do what they call an image overlay, and you can do it in camera. Yes, you can do image overlays in computers, but I would say that Doreen's done this one in camera. So this is an image overlay with the EM1. Snowdrops. Let me go back one, because 10, 11 snowdrops in the snow. That one's not in the right order. Let me just go on one, because we'll find them in a minute. In fact, let me try and find that one. Snowdrops in the snow. I'm trying to work that one out, so I will tell you what that is. No, it's not an image overlay on this occasion, so that one has got titled wrong. So let me go to the next one. Fox at Dusk. This one was taken at ISO 2000, 80th of a second, with a 40-150 lens with a 1.4 converter on. So that's with the newer camera. Very nice image again. So I'll come back to the other one as and when it happens. Alone on the Shore. Yeah, we're going okay now. I took this because of the lonely expanse of the scene emphasised by the figure walking along. Yep, can see the figure there. Looks like a I mean, it possibly isn't, but it just looks one of those images where a certain amount of the saturation's been taken out of it. But still, once again, very nice image. Historic and modern. London skyline from Greenwich Observatory. This was one of my trips with Jan's tours. I was struck by the juxtaposition of the old and the new and the vibrant colours. Yep, really nice that, isn't it? I like the way there's no converging verticals either, so that works really, really well. Oh, we're back to so this is left in the Workhouse. So possibly left in the workhouse was put in twice, unfortunately by mistake. Anyway, on to that one. Left in the workhouse. Poor old Ted. Well, Ted, that little teddy bear there, has travelled hundreds and hundreds of miles with Doreen. It goes everywhere with her. So this was on an outing with Jan to Southall Workhouse, taken with the Nikon. The Packhorse Bridge at Carbridge. Have I seen that bridge before? I think I have, once or twice. This was on an occasion when Doreen came up to, oh well, it says it here anyway. On Grahame's photo holiday to the Cairngorms, we had the opportunity to practice long exposure with filters. It was built in 1717 to allow funeral processions to reach the church when the river was in spate. This was on ISO 250 f9, 250th of a second. Love taking pictures of that bridge. Right, cranes at dusk. So after tea time for night time for photography. So this is when it's getting a little bit darker, folks. Last 3 images now. Cranes at dusk, Glasgow. The last rays of the sun picked out the orange bar in an otherwise mono scene. Once again, this one was taken with the Nikon. Number 18, the can. Yep, I quickly had a look at the picture to look for the can. And now a night out with DCC. While others were drawn to the bright lights, the leading lines to the beer can caught my eye. ISO 200, 1/8 of a second, f6.3 with a 1240 lens. Wolf Moon. One of my many attempts to get a good shot of the moon. ISO 64, spot metering, 15th of a second, f4 on the 40 to 150 lens with a 1.4 converter. Micro Four Thirds, these cameras are the Olympus, and this was on the EM1. I like the way that you've got the cloud effect in the sky. Really, really nice, that. And Doreen's final one, which is the church at Christmas. There were lots of different types of artificial light in this scene, so I opted for a black and white conversion. ISO 250, f11, 11 seconds at f8. So I think you'll all agree with a round of applause to Doreen for those images, and thank you very much for putting them together, Doreen. Very nice selection. So I'm just going to go back. I'm going to leave that image up for a second whilst I go to the next one. And in the name ratings, as I say, they're all in alphabetical order. So our chairman, Bob, is the next person. So I'm going to put his first picture up and then get his right up at the bottom here. So let me just make that a bit smaller because I'm covering things that I don't want to cover. So Bob is saying number 1 and 2 were taken on a club evening when members had a walk around town, around the town centre. Both were taken at dusk with exposure between a half a second to 1 second. Against the rules, but a low ISO of 100 and 160 and a 28 prime lens. I must admit that you will see some other photographs of this particular subject, and the way that different people show you this, there's another one coming up. So that's your first one. Oh, I tried to change it and that didn't work. Let me just change it here. The second one, oh, that's in the same write-up. So these were taken. That's the train station, of course, in Lincoln. So a very nice image. Great detail in that, isn't there? Some great detail. I took a picture the same time as Bob, and I can't even remember seeing it. I must have got it somewhere, but number 3. This is taken inside the church at Walesby. Walesby. 4-second exposure with an ISO of 200 at f7.1 with a 28 prime lens, and then added a vignette in post. I like that. Not been in, I'm sure I've been in that church. Oh well, very nice image, Bob. Taken at St Botolph's, this image was lit by moon only with exposure of 30-second with ISO of 500 at 7.1 and turned into black and white in post. And the light from outside is the moon, because I was with Bob that night and it's just the moon shining through. I love that reflection on the floor. Mine's very, very similar, but I took it from just slightly different position. So where are we now? St Botolph's once again, light painted and turned into black and white in post. The camera settings for this image were 30 seconds exposure with an ISO setting of 125 at f10, and again the 28mm. I like the effect on that one. Sorry, I just pressed the wrong button again. Number 6 and 7, same photo, colour and black and white for comparison of Lincoln Cathedral, taken on the way home from a club walk around Lincoln. The settings were 5 seconds with an ISO of 800, f10, with the 100-400 lens right out at 400. So that's your first image colour. There's your black and white. So it's time to let Bob know whether you like colour or black and white. Very interesting. Number 8, this is tree trunk, light painted. Sorry, I'll start again. Tree trunk, light painted with LED light in base of tree. The settings were 15 seconds exposure with an ISO setting of 500 at 7.1. Once again with his trusty 28mm lens. What are everybody saying? Colour. So it's a bit on the colour side. I like this one, Bob. Right. Number 9 to 15. Tried my hand at water drop photography. I still have lots to learn and I intend to have a few goes this coming winter and experiment a little more. All the photos were taken with a 100mm prime lens with an ISO setting of 320 and usually 1/200ths or a little bit faster. These settings seem to work best for me and my setup, which was a halogen light to the side, then one flash on camera and a slave flash to the side as well. The fluid was a mixture of milk, water and food dyes. Looking good. And another one. Love the colours. It's good how the colours actually, even though it's a mixture of colours in the liquid, when it's come up as red, and you can see green lower down. You can even see all of these reflections in here from this pink up here. That's a little bit more of a fine art one. One that's gone over. That looks like a bit like a fungi, doesn't it? It's gone right over and just about touching. Another one getting a collision, then another drop going up. If you've got any comments or questions for each of the committee members as we go through, just jot it down in the chat there. I can answer that question, save Bob typing. It's a 1DX, Canon 1DX Mark II, Peter. You'll save Bob typing. I like that one. That one's different, isn't it? And again, get a different result every time. Right, we're on to the birds this time. Let me just move down. Did not do many birds this year, but here's a small selection to finish off with. So, number 16. This is a bearded tit. Camera settings were 1/640th ISO 320. 560mm on the 100-400 lens with an extender. Not quite right settings for facing strong sunlight, but the Photoshop made it half decent. Yep, not bad at all. I like the soft pastel-y colours of the stems. 17, black-throated thrush. Very nice image. This, just for information for people, the black-throated thrush was at Grimsby, and Bob and I Bob popped over at least a couple of times, but I went once with him and got some pictures there. Camera settings, just for those that are interested, 2/50th of a second, ISO 1250 f8 at 560mm. Taken on a dullish day under trees, which this bird was always hanging about under trees. Yellowhammer. I was sat out early one morning waiting for hares. Nothing much was happening, but this chap kept coming to see what I was doing. So in the end, I gave in and took a photo of him. The camera settings were 250th a second, ISO 800, 6.3 at 400mm. Lesser whitethroat. I stopped on a farm track to allow a tractor to come by, and there he sat in a bush opposite me. I did not have time to change the camera settings, so just fired and got half lucky. Camera settings 320th of a second, ISO 640 at f18, 400mm with the 100-400 lens. The Mark II 100-400 lens is absolutely superb lens, really is. Even caught those midges there in the sky. Right, and Bob's final one is Willow Warbler. Very nice picture of the Willow Warbler. Bland back sky, just so that you don't look at anything else other than the bird. I managed to get loads of this little fella this spring. He was in the same place every day singing his heart out. Camera settings were 1,000th of a second, ISO 800, f8 with the 100-400 with the extender, so that'll make it 580. So thank you very much, Bob. A very good selection, and it's amazing how we all choose different things. So well done, Bob, and I'll leave that one up until I get the next one ready, which is Caroline. So let me open up Caroline's first image and her write-up. So this one is Knockton Hall, and Caroline says, unfortunately, I was really disappointed with my photos from the group night out. Now this could have been the committee when we decided upon this, doing this show of images. What we said was we'd do a couple of nights out in Lincoln. We'd do probably a night out and a day out or something like that, but it didn't go to plan because not everybody was available, so we decided to choose our own genre of photography and show them to you all this evening. So that's how we came about the reason that Caroline's put that. So unfortunately, I was really disappointed with my photos from the group night out. I think I was just pleased to see the people again. Anyway, with that in mind, I have picked 20 images from one of my favourite genres, urban decay. So the first one is Knockton Hall. My first visit was just to check check it out. A perfect sunny day showing the remnants of this once magnificent Grade 2 listed building. During the First World War, the house was used as convalescent home for wounded American officers. In the Second World War, the Americans again used the house as a military hospital, after which it was taken over by the RAF and an extensive hospital developed in the grounds. It reverted to private use in the 1980s. In 2004, there was a major fire which left the building in a derelict state. Options are currently being considered regarding the future of the building. So that's Knockton Hall. And I must admit, I think, and others will tell you if not, I don't think you can get to it now. And I think that fence that you can see in the foreground has been put up again. Second one is Knockton Hall again. One of the remaining staircases in the main building. The lift shaft sits alongside it and the metal frame of this still remains. The stairs are made of concrete and have stood the test of time. I've got a picture similar to that. In one of the basement rooms, this was a room in total darkness, so the image of the discarded fire extinguisher was lit by 2 torches off our mobile phones. I felt this image was significant, seeing as the property was destroyed by fire and the remnants of the extinguisher, which were probably too inadequate at the time, lay discarded. Really a sign, isn't it? Eh? Just having a little slurp. Just saw what Paul put, that he was born there. My wife was as well. So, right, onwards and upwards. Once again, still in Knockton Hall. And this is image 4. Excuse me. The basement had a few items that were left to store. An old door propped up made an interesting subject, showing the ultimate decay and deterioration of the property. I bet Joel's really liking these. Again, inside the main building, a fireplace with graffiti and burnt out, to me, adds to the eeriness of dereliction. Another staircase shot. The concrete stairs show signs of decay and the metal railings are damaged and gnarled. Just love the feeling of this. Another basement image, this time in the boiler room. I had to position myself to ensure that the boiler and pipes weren't in view. Again, using the light from the phone torch, the bed is illuminated enough to make you wonder who would want to sleep there. Just reminded me, reading that out, that it's that programme, Who Lives in a House Like This. Showing me age now, aren't I? Off the main building to the rear of the property there is a wing which had many abandoned and damaged rooms. I caught sight of this shard of mirror still attached to the wall with a reflection of the grimy bath in it. The main corridor showing the dilapidated roof, walls with peeling paint and graffiti. A closer inspection of the hallway shows spray paint, Save Us, which I really liked. Let me just move up a little bit. There we go. Right, we're moving on now to St John's Hospital. up at Bracebridge. So St John's Hospital, Bracebridge Heath, has long been a place where I wanted to go, and was lucky enough to get a walk round with a friend a couple of years back. He bought a house on the now newly developed site, and the site foreman kindly showed us round. The hospital was designed as the Lincolnshire County Lunatic Asylum and opened in 1852. It became Bracebridge Pauper Lunatic Asylum in 1898 and Bracebridge Mental Hospital in 1919. It served as an emergency hospital during the Second World War, and having been renamed Bracebridge Heath Hospital in 1939, joined the National Health Service in 1948. It went on to become St John's Hospital, Bracebridge Heath in 1961. The hospital closed in December 1989, and the site has been sold to a property developer who has built 183 luxury homes and apartments there. The main building is Grade 2 listed. So this image, it says, this would have been the old nursery which still had toys and high chairs littering the floor. It almost looked like it had been deserted in a hurry, and everything was left behind. That's that one. Sorry. Do apologise. I've caught up now, honestly, Caroline. Honest. So we'll go to the next one. A view from one of the damaged glass windows shows a sight of the hospital. I mainly liked the fact that the paintwork was peeling and the window was smashed. A feeling of abandonment. Right. A store cupboard is one of the rooms, all goods emptied before leaving. Sorry, I shot on one there. Toys on the windowsill left by children who had been playing. You can't help but wonder what the story is behind this room and its use when it was a mental asylum. You don't actually appreciate them having children in... I know this period was probably from when it was the latter hospital, but still, you know, it was disturbing to think what was there. A store cupboard in one of the rooms, all goods emptied before leaving. The walls of the building left to peel and decay. The dark grey October day when this was taken gives it a feeling of emptiness. Some good textures on that wall, ain't they? Very nice images, Caroline. The main staircase... Yeah, I was looking for a staircase there, but I'll carry on reading. The main staircase in the listed building... This is 7. So I've missed one out or something there. So I'll read this out anyway. The main staircase in the listed building. This has been the subject of many images. The foreman removed the boarded door for us to allow some light in. It was somewhat disappointed in this, as the stairs always appeared much more grand, but they had scaffolding to support the upper walls as the stairs went nowhere. The doors had all but disintegrated. Just reading on. Let me just have a quick look at the next picture. Another room, the aged decor. The barred windows certainly give food for thought. They certainly do, don't they? The corridor in the main building. Most of the flooring had given away, showing the 2 concrete flat platforms on either side and what appeared to be a tunnel in the middle. Rumour has it that this was a way of moving bodies from one side of the site to another without having to pass the rooms. The ceilings, as you can see, have an eggshell type ceiling, soundproofing. Gosh, really is, really makes you think, doesn't it? Another main room with the same ceiling. You have to wonder if it was an influenced design in the building or genuinely used for noise restriction. You can look at these images and you can really sort of take in, what's that? What was that for? What's the story behind that? What did them people think of when they looked out of those windows? It's mind-blowing, really. And this final image is of the hallway taken through a hole in the glass. I like the feel of this, as it was almost like an outsider looking into what was happening. And it makes it all more feeling, doesn't it, when, you know, Caroline can relate back to these images and sort of remember what it was all about, why, what for, when, how, who, lots and lots of questions. And we can see the scaffolding here holding things up, look, so lots and lots of stories in there. So right, I shall leave that one up for a second, and the next one to come up is GH. Now I'll just pop back one to Caroline there. Caroline is our club secretary, so she's our general secretary. So the messages that you get are from our young Caroline. So GH, Grahame Halliday is our treasurer and has been so for many years. Grahame, after myself, is the next longest standing member. I think Grahame has been with the club something like nearly 20 years now, so a very long-standing member of the club. So thank you very much for your work that you do, Grahame, during the year, as with all of the other committee members. So his first image, and I haven't opened his write-up, so here we go. So his first image, Grahame Halliday. As you know, whoops, I'm going to have to make this a bit bigger because I can't see what I'm reading. There we go. So, as you may know by now, this whole idea started with a committee photo walk around Lincoln. So, some are from that evening, with others added to make up the numbers. As I said, we didn't get the numbers we wanted, so we've had to improvise. His first image here, as you can see at the top there, is Train Rushes By. You'll be pleased to know it's my it's my only train picture tonight. Well, actually, that right from the start, that amazes me, Grahame. So, yeah. Rubbish sky, but couldn't really crop down because of the bridge. 1/10 of a second exposure to show the movement. Slight increase in orange to emphasise the train with a slight vignette. I like these when you see the trains going through and everything else still. Really looks good. Move that on. After sunset at the Brayford. ND graduated filter. 1/5 of a second exposure. Slight enhancement in luminar. And for those of you who don't know the luminar program, you can tweak the sliders to make the little bit more of a glow, etc, etc. So this was what the sky was like that night, but it as Grahame says, just a little bit of enhancement in post-production. These were more than likely taken on tripod, of course, if anybody's thinking. Lakeland, walking past Lakeland, this one's called. 18mm lens, 1/15 of a second to obtain motion blur in the image. A significant amount of keystone correction to try and straighten up the building. So keystone correction, for anybody who doesn't know, is where you straighten up the converging verticals. It just saved you a bit of post-production work later on, and you can do that in camera with the Olympus. So here's one of Grahame's, which is entitled Cornhill Quarter, 17mm, 1 second exposure. Again, some keystone correction attempted, and he's put not very successfully. Certainly better than it would have looked with that lens otherwise, though. And as you can see now, the difference if you cast your mind back to Bob's to this one. So different people, different exposures, get a different effect. So this one is in that same position, the Cornhill Quarter, and this is taken with the 12mm lens. The perspectives are better on this one, so lovely and sharp from front to back, you know, really good. His next one is in monochrome with some dramatic tones added to it. So just shows you what a little bit of tweaking can do, doesn't it? Waterside at 1020. It's amazing what the camera sees compared to your eyesight, or our eyesight, whichever it be. Certainly does. Surprising how something just as simple as these rays coming out from the light, how it changes it. You know, how we get different things in different places. So, and I've lost my number now, number 7. Number 8. Light trails in Broadgate using live composite, where the camera takes a series of images, only adding any new light to the image. You then stop the exposure when you're happy with the result. I think I left this one to run just a little too long. Still nice though, Grahame. And we've still got detail in this side, you know, we can still see the brickwork here and this side here. So, and this one is, this version is in high res mode with a 5 second exposure. With the Olympus cameras that Grahame's got, we can do a high res mode, 80 megapixels I think it is, on a tripod, and 50 megapixels on a handheld, and we was doing them on a tripod at this time. And in mono, a third of a second exposure. So there you can just see a very, very slight movement in the cars. So, Lincoln Cathedral from the South Common, taken at 11:45 p.m. ISO 200, 140 mil, full frame equivalent, 20 second exposure on a tripod, of course. Love the lighting on the cathedral. Yeah, very nice. Very nice. Superb. You don't mind me having a look, folks, do you, as well? I'll just keep having a look as I'm reading out the comments. So, right, straight on. Lincoln Cathedral. I've just said that one. Love the lighting on the cathedral. Same again, 13 second exposure in mono. So once again, folks, just let Grahame know, colour, mono, colour, mono. IBCC Spire, 15 second exposure. The lights went out a minute after I took this shot at midnight. Recently, we're now going on to the next lot. Recently, I have been delving into the world of excuse me, into the world of macro. As with most genres of photography, I soon realised the more I knew, the more I didn't know. Anyway, here are a few examples of my new venture. Just close up really, a passion flower after the rain. Love passion flowers. Brilliant plant. And with a bee clinging on, literally. A little busy this one, but I just wanted to show how the bee hooks its legs to hang on. Takeoff, well, almost. 640th of a second exposure. Struggled a bit here with the light reflection on the elytra. It's Elytra as well as depth of field due to not being straight on. Handheld. The ladybird and the ant. Again, very shallow depth of field at f8. Couldn't focus bracket as it wouldn't stay still. Hoverfly, 14 images stacked in Helicon. Helicon is a program, of course. So this is a hoverfly. I've not been able to identify this, so if anybody out there knows what it is, just drop that in the chat there for Grahame. I've not been able to identify this. Again, focus stacked. 14 images, but still not enough depth of field. I did say I'm only learning. And finally, sorry, not all of these images are sharp, but I just wanted to convey the story. Another unidentified bug, approximately ½ a centimetre long. I have looked through some apps, but to no avail. Image 1. Sitting on top of an undamaged leaf. Image 2. Piercing the leaf and gathering a small drop. Number 3. Rolling the drop up and it's getting bigger. I keep looking at them as I'm reading it out. Number 4. Has got the drop to the top. That nearly rhymes. Yeah. And image 5. The drop is on the top of the leaf. The whole sequence took 9¼ seconds. Very good, that. I'm just looking at them again. Yeah, very, very nice. Unfortunately, I am not sure what happened next, as I was totally unaware of this going on until I looked at my images in post. Thank you very much is put at the bottom. So a big round of applause there for Grahame. Some amazing images once again, and some great images there. So where are we? We're halfway through. So what I'll do now is I'm going to break for the 15 minutes break. I'm hoping that GH is seeing Steve's comment there. Steve thinks he knows what it is, so thank you for all the comments to the members, the committee members that have shown their images up to present, and we will be starting the next half with Jill's pictures, and as I say, no idea. Once again, I've seen the first couple of 3, but that's it, and so we'll catch you all again at or just before 10 past. In fact, seeing as it's 55, let's catch you again in 10 minutes at 5 past. So I'll say cheerio for now. Get yourselves a drink, get refreshed, have a quick stretch of the legs, and we'll see you again shortly.